गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वम् अस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं नमामि। ध्याये शिरस्थं गुरुं ध्याये शिरस्थं गुरुं ध्याये शिरस्थं गुरुं।
So far, no questions, I think. And anyways, I'm not going to answer questions in such a detail, and no doubt clearings. Okay, doubts can be clarified later. Okay. So last time we discussed which sutra? Which sutra did we discuss?
Yoga chittavritti nirodha.
Okay, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Okay, so the background of the sutra and my background, all is okay now. Okay, good. Let's begin. So last time we discussed the second sutra of Patanjali, which says yoga chitta vritti nirodha. And when we say chitta, we will not get into detail because Patanjali himself is going to get into detail of chittam. What is chitta? But if we combine Shiva Sutras and our understanding, then we know that chittam is the substratum on which every impression falls on and where from the perception happens. Whereas there is probably little bit difference here, little bit difference. Whereas chittam, there is something which is also in this place, it is also being taken as some place where the smritis or memories are also going to be stored. Correct. So in a way, it's that stuff, that mind stuff which we have, in which all the impressions which come from outside or we create inside are stored as well. Okay. And then there are certain tendencies of it. Chitta vritti, right? Tendencies, whirlpools, flow, in whatever way you can say, orientation. Vrittis are defined later. But before that, let us understand what other two sutras are talking about. Because Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, the essence of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is in first four sutras. First four sutras. Rest is detail. As I told you in the case of Shiva Sutras, that the first sutra, Chaitanyam Atma, is the essence of Shiva Sutra, rest is detail. Here also, the first four sutras of Patanjali are the crux of it, the essence of the whole system which Patanjali is going to detail out, including what is its outcome, including what is it, including if it is not done, what happens. Everything is covered in the first four sutras. First, Atha Yoga Anusasana, it's a discipline. Second, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, it is talking about the seizing or what you can say, refining, synchronizing of mind stuff. Polishing, refining, investing your own self into understanding, coordination among the mind itself, because mind itself, the chitta has so many parts. The ego, which is also a part of it, right? Memory is part of it. perceptions are part of it, projections are part of it, correct? So everything is part of it. So if we know how to coordinate flawlessly without creating any disturbance among the parts, then we become free of it, right? Suppose you are having some problem in your legs, you can't walk. So what do? While you use crutches, at the same time, you also try to give yourself therapy so that when the therapy is sufficiently practiced, when it gives you final result, you get rid of crutches, and later on you even forget that you have legs. Is it not the same thing? Your mind as of now is not capable of dealing with the situations outside and inside. We need to work on it so that it can work in autopilot mode, so that we become free of it. This is what I understand. Most yogis may not. Yogis may say, no, you are referring from the definition. Patanjali is talking about the ceasing of the vrittis. But let me ask you a question. If your vrittis completely cease, what is the difference between you and a kind of a man in coma? Because samadhi is something where none of your external, internal environment is moving in, or I'll say pulsating enough to be even sensed as that you are alive, you're a thinking man, you're a fully functional body. Yes or no? So samadhi takes you there. If all this vrittis cease to exist, you will become, of course, you will enter in samadhi, which is definitely one of the desired outcome of yoga, not the outcome of yoga. We should be clear about it. Samadhi is one of the outcome of yoga. Hmm? All the 8 steps are there, and all the 8 steps will be defined, and all the 8 steps are to be mastered, which means there's also one step. We should not take it as a hierarchical way, right? That this or this or this and this, therefore it is a culmination in samadhi. Well, of course, the preparatory steps would assist you, help you in obtaining samadhi. But have you not seen people entering samadhi without any preparation? That also happens. Hmm? So, or have you not gotten into a kind of dharana where all your mind stuff was focused on one thing, one outcome, whether it's a boy or girl? Maybe some occasions you must have seen it. So you may enter into dharana also. Correct. Talk of kumbhaka, when something you're expecting and waiting very eagerly, you find yourself that the kevala kumbhak happens. Neither you're breathing out nor breathing in. Wherever your breath is used, it is stopped. So it happens, is it not? So it means these are the things which will be, of course, helping us in the journey, starting from the rules, regulations of conduct, moving to the samadhi. But you can't say that one of them cannot happen by itself without any preparation. That can also happen accidentally or in whatever way, but it does happen. Correct? So in that sense, I'm saying that samadhi should not be taken as the culmination of yoga, because samadhi is one of the aspect of yoga. Final outcome of yoga is in terms of sanyama. Sanyama means, now 3 things are involved in sanyama. We will discuss about it because there is a sutra. We can talk about it, but briefly I'll tell you, because in these 4 sutras, the overview of Patanjali Yoga Sutras is there, and therefore I should discuss about it. What is Sanyama? Little bit of it. Sanyama is briefly Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi altogether. It means while you are in Samadhi, you're still in Dharana and you're also maintaining Dhyana. Understand? So Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi altogether. If Samadhi could exist in isolation, without the presence of dharana and dhyan, that means you say dharana culminates into dhyana, culminates into samadhi. That way, if you go, then how can the 3 can have? How all the three can happen at the same time. It's not possible, right or not? If one gets transmuted into the next, how will dharana stay there as at the level of Sanyama? Is it clear? So yogis, please take note of. I don't know what kind of theory you have been taught about in different schools, but I would definitely want to know if there is any deviation in
No,
your understanding
same
as
theory.
far as
Same
correct.
theory. Yeah.
Same theory you have been taught, right? In the same way, dharana, dhyan, samadhi altogether is sanyama, and that also means that one does not lead to, or one does not completely transmute to another. If that would happen, then the first two will not remain. That means if the seed has to get destroyed in order to become a tree, like dhyan and dharana has to be destroyed to become in samadhi, that means the seeds are destroyed. Understood? They are no more there. But it is not so. These three steps, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi, these three steps can happen together, all together. This is also very important. You should take note of. So what happens? What happens when samadhi is obtained? When samadhi happens? Now the third sutra talks about that. What is that? The third
Tada,
sutra,
yeah.
tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Right? We have been listening to various kind of stories, and we talk about Vedas and that, and we say these Vedas are apaurushaya. They have not been written by any man. They are direct revelations of God. The revelations happen, and the God Himself has revealed these Veda mantras, the wisdom in Vedas. So nobody has written Vedas scratching his head. Understood? How Vedas have come in existence? Just merely by seeing what exists already, right? Understood? What exists, if you are able to see, that is called revelation, discovery. Hmm? You don't invent, you just discover. Understand? So there is no invention, it's only discovery. This discovery means something already existed. You just discover. This can also be replaced by another prefix, un. Un and dis both are almost similar. So discover or uncover, both are okay. So it existed, you just uncovered. So tadadrashtu swarupe avasthanam. That means when yoga will reach its highest place, when you will be able to reach the highest space in yoga, you will become a seer. The word drishtu comes here. Drishtu means the one who is seeing. Okay? So the way to discover whatever is, the way to discover who you are, the way to discover what exists, the way to discover anything material, philosophical, conceptual, or I will say even get into the psychological, whatever, medical, anything you want to know, you can just discover that it already exists. You see, gravitation existed. And of course, a law ruled that. Law, a particular rule, a particular law ruled that interaction between two mass bodies, right? So what Newton does or what Kepler does, they just discover it. The rule existed. They did not create it. They did not invent anything. In the same way, our whole body exists. And when a seer puts all his attention in the state of seership, I'll say, when a person has attained that kind of chitta vritti nirodha, let's use that word. Once that has happened, That means anything external or internal is not hindering the process of seeing. Right? Who is a seer? Who is a seer? The one who does not have anything outer or inner to disturb him. Right or not? Like Jyoti, you see, Jyoti is not a listener. You see, she is not a listener right now, because at the same time she is getting some or the other small works to do. Someone comes, a child comes, she has to deal with it, and then she will look at it, listen to me. In the same way, if you want to see things, you have to be totally free of outer and inner distractions. Your own inner tendency should not come in the way, and externally you should not get disturbed. That is the state when a seer is born. Of course, that comes when last three steps are attempted, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. That kind of the refinement starts happening, because dharana starts concentration. Concentration means what? You and the other. You focus on something. You see, when you focus on something, it becomes a dharana. When you're capable of focusing on both, I'll say it becomes dhyana, right? When you're capable of focusing on either of it in exclusion, you know yourself. That is what samadhi is. Samadhan. What is the ultimate resolution? What is the ultimate discovery? The ultimate discovery is I. In the exclusion of everything else, you discover yourself. That is Atma Sakshatkar. So, Atma Sakshatkar, once it has happened, we become capable of seeing things in otherly, I'll say, dimensions also. So, what exists outside can also be seen. Seeing means completely experiencing. Okay? Seeing means completely experiencing. As last time I told you, we do not see only through eye. We see through ears, we see through nose. The way of saying it. Seeing. Right? So you are available and a scenario is available. In this Dharana Dhyan Samadhi, you see it completely without any limits. What are your limits? Your limits are your inner systems of belief. Okay? So what yoga does, it destroys it, at least in that moment, it completely wipes out your inner belief system that I am a limited person, I have a limited capacity, right? And all the siddhis, so-called accomplishments, vibhutis, are the expansion of that being which becomes limitless. Okay, let me tell you, if you can just believe without any doubt in your mind that I can heal a particular body condition, you can heal it. You see, this has been proven time over again. Again and again it has been proven. What does it mean? When we are able to see our limitlessness, infiniteness, right? We acquire that much capacity. We are capable of discovering, modulating, changing, altering, stopping, everything we can do with that. Any question?
Acharya, excuse me, what was the second term you used after sadhana? You used two terms.
What?
Sadhana, and the other one was what?
Tathana?
Sadhana.
Yeah.
I think she's meaning.
You talk about samadhan, am I right? Samadhan? Yes. And the second one was different things. I didn't get it. And anyone doesn't remember as well. That's okay.
I'm not reading from a
Yeah, I
paper.
know. I understand.
Sakshatkar.
Yeah, Asashkat. Yeah, it's on. Say it again, please. Pronounce it.
Sakshatkar. Sakshatkar. Okay. Sakshatkar. Okay. It means interview.
To know the astrology, you mean? Is it?
No.
Is it something
Sakshatkar
like that?
means to come to face and understand someone, right? This is what Sakshatkar
Wow.
means. Okay. Okay. So
Thank you very much.
okay. All right. So tada drishtu swarupe avasthanam. So if chitta vritti nirodha is done, what happens next? Tada drishtu swarupe avasthanam. Direct outcome of the second sutra. Right? Tada drishtu swarupe avasthanam. That such a person becomes a seer, and a seer is one who has attained his own true self, his own true nature, the one who is seated in one's true nature. And what is your true nature? Sat Chit Ananda Anadi Ananta Sarva Shaktiman Swatantra. Okay, this is your nature. Correct. So this is third sutra. How to attain Chitta Vritti Nirodha? Because it is very simply said, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. After Chitta Vritti Nirodha is done, the third sutra tells you the outcome. Tada Drashtu Swarupe Avasthana. The final outcome. And if not, then the fourth. If this does not happen, what happens? Vritti Sarupyam Itaratraha. That means Vritti Sarupya. If you are not able to attain this, if you are not able to refine the workings of mind, if you are not able to do away with your self-limiting beliefs, if you are not able to even come out of your limited identification, understood? What will happen? You will be at the mercy of vritti, the kind of vritti, the kind of modification being felt by the mind at that particular moment. Understood? Tadadrashtu swarupe avasthanam. If not, itara vritti sarupyam. Itara atra. Itar means other than that. Other than that. So till the time your vrittis are in your control, you are a seer. The moment your vrittis go out of your hands, you are taken over by your vrittis. So that means a yogi can be yogi one moment and bhogi next moment. Understood or not? You got me? You should understand that. A yogi in the moment of Chitta Vritti Nirodha is a yogi. When he has lost the plot, he is a bhogi. The fourth sutra. So now all the four combined, it's in a nutshell what you are going to gain from yoga. And more times you are able to stay stay invested in mind control, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, refinement of mind, synchronization of mind. The more and more you stay, the longer the duration you can stay, you are a better yogi. Okay. A sadhaka will always be a bhogi, yogi. I'm talking. I should change that frequency though. Bhogi, yogi, bhogi. Understood? This is what sadhaka is. And a siddha is yogi. Siddha means yogi. but even siddhas can fall. This means even siddhas can fall. Understood? The siddhas, if they lose that control which they have obtained on the mind stuff, immediately they will fall. They will be the slave of vrittis. Okay. So the 4 sutras in a nutshell is what Patanjali is going to give. In next 192,
96.
no, rest 192.
Oh, rest 192.
Yeah.
True.
Okay. And the balance 192 are going to talk about these 4, especially the second. And of course, Tadadastu Surupe Avasthanam is the whole Vibhuti part. So that's also, the 2 are going to be talked. 2. Chittavritti Nirodha and Anushasana. These are the 2 which are going to be discussed in detail, which have certain actionable. Right? These are the actionable. The outcome of attainment is the 3rd sutra. And outcome of failure is 4th sutra. Okay. Clear? Clear?
Yes.
So far, no questions? So now you see, in all your yoga system, which you are currently studying, or probably you will be doing afterwards, some of you will be, definitely, you will be doing all the physical things. Where is it? So far, if you only take these 4 sutras, this can be obtained by anything. You know? The control over mind stuff can be obtained by anything. The system of Patanjali talks about certain ways. Right? In the same way, if you are following another system, another teacher, another philosophy, another method, you can still obtain that. Many systems definitely say this way, that all is in the hands of God, at the mercy of God, right or not? Is it not? Everywhere, even if you talk to us, what do we say? Beyond a point, it's a grace, it's a mercy of God, Guru, right? Here in this system, there is no place for that. It's a Purushartha based system. Whatever you will achieve, you will have to work for it. Simple. So yoga is not for the one who is looking for grace. No grace. No system of grace works here. It's all your hard work. Not physical. It's all mental. Please remember this. At least in the system of Patanjali here, it's not physical. Okay. If you can do it without getting any physical discipline, wonderful. You're already a yogi without doing any so-called yoga. Okay. And if you are not able to do, well, so many systems are there. So many, even in the yoga itself, you'll find so many systems to teach you how to reach to that mind stuff. First, get handle on it. Right? How to gain handle on it first. First, you get to know where is this mind. How do I catch it? So every system will be talking about that. Okay, so quickly let's move to another sutra. Okay. 5th sutra says, Vrittayah panchatayah, Vrittayah panchatayah klishta aklishtaah. Okay. And this cannot be taken in isolation, because the moment I'll say there are 5 types of modifications, painful and not painful, or painful or pleasant, then I'll say, you'll ask, Acharya ji, don't leave the sutra here. Please tell me What are the 5 modifications? There are the 5 modifications, and these 5 modifications can fall in either category of klishta, aklishta. Aklishta means something which is easygoing, right? Klishta means something which is tough to negotiate, tough to go through, right? Creates a lot of disturbance, requires too much of engagement, too much of energy, struggle, alignment, realignment, thinking, rethinking. That is klishta. This sutra says 5 types of modifications exist. Mind is able to create 5 types of modifications which fall in 2 categories: klishta, aklishta. Okay, what are those 5 modifications? The next sutra talks about it. The next sutra says pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smritayah. Okay, pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smritayah. Okay, pramana means the right knowledge. Viparyaya means indiscrimination. That means confusion, right? Vikalpa means vikalpa. You remember vikalpa? Swapno vikalpa, Shiva Sutra. Verbal delusion, it can be said. It can also be talked about something which is imagined. Nidra and smritiya. Nidra means sleep and memory. So what are the 5? Pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, nidra and smriti. Okay. Pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, nidra and smriti. These are the 5. Pramana means when we are wakeful, whatever we experience, we say that this is the truth. Okay, is it not? If you want to hold somebody responsible for something, you have to see that person doing that thing in waking. You can't say, I saw you doing that thing in my dream, and therefore you are responsible. So the dreams are not the pramana. Whatever proof you give, the proof is of waking. Is it not? Proof is of waking. Pramana means something which you can produce as a reflection of truth. I'm not saying the truth. I'm not saying the truth. The truth, only one. But there are mediocre levels of truth also. Na? Like, I am Sharma, you are Verma. Is a truth, right? Is it not? If a Sharma starts saying, I am Srivastav, and Verma starts saying, I am Pandey, it isn't truth, right or not? So there is this level of truth also. So, but is it just a reflection? Partially truth. But even that truth holds us so much that we take it as a pramana, pratyaksha. Pratyaksham pramanam kim. You say, when things appear in front of us, we experience them, then that becomes a pramana. What kind of experience? In fully waking state, not in a deluded state, where you don't know what is happening. After 7 under, no. 4 down, no. That not. After being under the influence of drugs, no, that's not. Being sleepy, no. Fully awake, that's called pramana. Pramana. Now pramana will fall in 2 categories: klishta, aklishta. So whatever I see now can be very, very, very easy going for me, and maybe a problem for me. Klishta, aklishta. Klishta means it becomes difficult to negotiate. It gives me pain or suffering. And second is aklishta. It just passes smoothly, right? So that is aklishta. So waking can give you these 2 type of experiences, right? In the same way, your delusion, viparyaya, can also give you 2 types of experiences: klishta, aklishta. So remember, only one klishta, aklishta you don't have direct control on, because real people, real situation can become klishta. Aklishta is okay, but even if your imagination, if you create klishta, this is a problem, right? So that is where Patanjali says your mind control is very, very necessary. It is very, very crucial, or else you don't suffer only because of the things, you also suffer because of your imagination. Then it is, the next is verbal delusion, vikalpa. Vikalpa means dreams, of course. Let us take it as dream, because we know swapno vikalpa means the vikalpas, whatever options are coming in our semi-conscious state when we are in dreamy state. Okay, in dreams also you can have two types of dream, right? One dream which continues, है ना? Ashish sitting on a Honda, है ना? Someone sitting behind him with a colored dupatta, है ना? He is driving. This dream is very positive. Then the tire bursts and everything, a clister. So this dream can also become two types. This dream is also falling into types. So what Patanjali has described in just one sutra before, that vrittis are of 5 types. They fall in the 2 categories of klishta, aklishta. Nothing wrong in it. You understand that. Even your sleep can be, your sleep can also be good or bad, is it not? Once you come out and say, I did not get good sleep, and I got a good sleep. Even sleep can become good and bad. Klishta or aklishta. Smriti, the memory, right? And here from, I will pick it up in our Shiva Sutra workshop. The smriti can also become klishta, aklishta. Don't you have categorized your smritis into 2 boxes? Good, not good. Correct. So this way, if you look at your life, these are the 5 modifications of mind. This all is happening in the mind, by the way, nowhere else. The world happens in your mind. The waking is happening in your mind. It is not happening outside. When your mind is in a particular state and it appreciates what is, then it is called waking. When mind is in a particular state, discards what is, creates what is not, and experiences it as it is dream. So that means it is again in the mind. Understand? And so on, so forth. Everything, every modification is happening at the level of mind.
Acharya, Acharya, so you again explained what is the waking and the dreams. So delusions, where do delusions fall in terms of what it discards and what it creates?
Delusions. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We will discuss about delusions next time. I think I have already overshot my time. So for today, I think I have been able to give you a brief understanding of what Patanjali Yoga Sutra is in a nutshell. And then also, when Patanjali uses this term, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, then of course we must know what are the vrittis. Vrittis we talked about. There is one confusion about it, which Jyoti has brought in. I will definitely take it up. I will clarify what is Viparyaya, what is Pramana, what is Prati, what is Nidra, and all that, correct? So these are the 5 modifications of mind. These fall in the category of pleasurable, good, or painful, suffering. So Patanjali is going to talk to your mind, will work on your mind, right? Done? Thank you so much. Shivam.